Alright, hello folks, I am running a little behind here, but BKC and Void are playing right now. BKC with a Hippo lead into Bronzong. Magnet Rise, so this is going to guarantee that the Zong is trapped, and Zong is forced to boom here. Nothing too crazy, and the Starmie goes to Clefable. Okay, so BKC brought a Osgood style stall into Void. Going to Latias here, trying to pivot around what looks to be Choice Specs Starmie from Void. This is something that he's brought earlier this season. And there's a Jirachi. Not sure what this Jirachi is. Could be mixed, could be a lot of things really. Choice Scarf, okay. So it's like one of those Choice Scarf utility sets. And Void bringing up the Dragonite here. Telling me that this could be mix, could be, oh okay, it's DD here, so BKC has to be careful trying to navigate around this, and Void blanking into a Flygon here, and oh, it's leftovers Flygon, okay. Outrageous takes out the Hippowdon, and this is a 5-5 ball game, but however, oh, BKC not loving seeing that. Flying back out again and protect. Okay, not very common. This tells me, oh, protect. This is like maybe like EQ and then Dragon Claw with like filler move. But yeah, no. Void here just kind of getting. Okay, BKC finally catches a break here, but he is extremely behind, and there's a DD Tar waiting in the back for the Magnezone, and Magnezone goes down. And now we are all caught up here. So Void in a really commanding position, but I'm not too sure what Void's set is here. Oh, Reflect Laddie, okay, so this will at least keep the Tyranitar at bay and gives the Clefable a little more breathing room, but wow, this game is looking real dire right now. And wow, BKC's free Opid basically is no longer undefeated no more. Void claims 1, moves to free 1 on the season. BKC also free 1. And to be honest, that was a pretty unfortunate game, all things considered, because of the fact that one, like the Dragonite DDing just kind of got out of control. The moment the Jirachi went down, like things just looked real bad for BKC. That was a very anticlimactic game. Kind of a sour note to go out on, to be honest. Oh folks, this is Typhoon Carter. This is like a couple minutes after the BKC and Void match ended, and if you're seeing this, this means that you also saw the live footage where they ended up starting early, so didn't really get a chance to digest the game in full. But yeah, I felt like the game was interesting enough to maybe look back in retrospective, if you want to call it that. So I'll be quick, or not too long. It's like 20 turns long. Look, if you've gotten to this part of the video, you know how long the game was. I feel like it was just maybe better because like 3 minutes of footage feels like doesn't do it justice. So let's just get right into this. Hippo's Zong lead. A couple things here. Obviously, I talked about it when I was trying to catch up to the live footage, but Hippowdon being the lead almost always indicates it's some kind of fat team, some kind of stally team from BKC's side, and then Void's Zong could have been a multitude of things. It could be something like Heat-Proof Lumberry with Stealth Rock's Explosion EQ, Gyro Ball, for example. Like that's something it could very well have been. And usually the idea behind that, if you're not running Heat Proof with Lumberry, then you're, say, running Akaberry with Levitate. This is usually done for stuff like lead Heatran, but given lead Heatran hasn't really been a thing as of late, not as likely, but still a really nice lure for like those early Heatran switch-ins. Stuff like that, right? And Void's Zong could also have been, say for example, like Tech, Payback, Stealth Rock, so it could have been a stall mirror from turn 1. Moving on. Magnezone here. BKC knows Void is probably got rocks up, so this is a very typical Magnezone Zong interaction. And Zong has to boom here. Again, this is a very, very typical play. Like, this is how you expect it to play out. And then, wow. So, about 4 turns in, so things have happened. The Mag traps the Zong, forces the Brown Zong to boom. Right, so that's the first thing we see. Second thing we see from Void is that Starmie has revealed a Hydro Pump on what is presumed to be Max Spadef Clefable, and that is like choice specs damage, right? Over 50% to Clef. That's generally, if you're running spec attackers, you're running them to do like big damage to stuff like Clef. Clefable is probably like the #1 noob check to special attackers in DPP. That isn't Blissey, but I digress. And then BKC switching to Latias. So yeah, this is looking like some kind of semi-stall team with Magnezone presumably to remove like Skarmory so that it can't get layers up. And then Void chose Jirachi. Now, Jirachi's set a little more ambiguous normally, but okay, so this tells me a couple things. For one, it tells me that this Jirachi being Choice Scarf indicates that this team needs some kind of soft counterplay into something like DD Tyranitar, because when I look at Void's free so far, like the Zong, Starmie, Rachi, that tells me that this probably cannot hold its own against Fire Punch DD Tar very, very well if it gets the +1. Like, yeah, you have, like, sure, you have the Starmie that could like kill it on the switch, right? Okay, that's cool and all, but I'm talking like also probably for stuff like DD Gyarados and DD Dragonite. So again, like the DDers, that's probably why you're using it. Also probably for stuff like, I don't know, Aerodactyl lead, which this Zong probably hates. Moving right along. So it's tricked U-turn, so usually Iron Head and then maybe either like Thunder Wave or one of the Elemental Punches as the last move. That's usually what I assume. And then Void's D-Knight here. This is a pretty awkward position for BKC because of the fact that, one, this Dragonite most likely is carrying Fire Punch or EQ against BKC's Jirachi. Now, BKC's Jirachi, almost 99% sure it is Wish Protect, Body Slam, Iron Head, right? And the other thing I would say is that, like, when I look at this position, you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, how am I dealing with the D-Knight? One, you probably have to sack something, right? Like EQ into Outrage, unless BKC's has like a Scarfer in the back, which I highly doubt, and the Latias took like 30 from Choice Spec Starmie Hydro Pump, so that tells me that it is very likely not Choice Scarf, obviously, like it's defensive. So BKC has to sack something, basically, and Void basically gets to punch holes into BKC's team, one way or another. Can't really stop that. EQs. Flygon here, interesting last, so it is Leftovers Flygon. This is actually not very common in Flygon. Nowadays when you see Flygon, you're thinking, oh, it is Life Orb mixed attacker. You're probably thinking, oh, it's Scarf. But the issue here is that I think if it was Scarf Flygon last, then I think BKC could have easily gone out of this situation. Or at the very least force the D-Knight to switch out and then As a result, the D Knight, the next hat comes in, it's going to be at about 50% health, like a little over 50, right? So give or take. And we still don't know what the item is at this stage in the game. Hippo switches in, and okay, this is an interesting sack choice by BKC. So the Hippo, so my first thought was, okay, maybe the Hippo could, but then again, the Hippo got tricked, so BKC sacking this makes a lot of sense. And we saw that D Knight lost some extra health, and that tells me that this is, oh, yeah, so this is quite unfortunate, but I was very surprised to see that the Dragon Knight actually killed the Jirachi with a critical hit there. I was probably, to be honest, I was wondering, like, okay, yeah, why not protect there, right? Like, unless the Jirachi didn't have protect, which to me seems like that might be the case. Or maybe the Jirachi had like T-Wave or something, like it already showed Life Orb, so for BKC, like, that's probably what he was going for, like, cripple the D Knight and then try to get off that situation, right? So unfortunately, that was like probably the only thing that was like really standing between a D Knight just outright teabagging BKC's entire team. And yeah, and at this point the game is just like, it's like, okay, BKC still, okay, showing the protect here, so that's a really cool tech from Kevin here. And unfortunately no confuse hacks here, so BKC doesn't get that. That was basically his last chance to salvage the game, more or less. And then, okay, so it self-hits on the Magna Zone, but at this point it is too little too late. The T-Tar probably DD, showing like 243. Reflect here, yeah, that does nothing basically. And then they go the Clefable, and for Void, we already know this is specs damage, and Void shows that it has Trick, and at this point the game's over. There is nothing, I mean nothing that BKC could do after that Jirachi went down. To be honest, it was a pretty unfortunate game, all things considered. And as I said before, BKC no longer undefeated, and Void moving to 3-1 on the season. That being said though, if you guys like this, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.